Hi folks, Alec Anderson here, Fat Egg, and it won't be me that's confirming this. I'll not be claiming an exclusive here. You'll already have heard the news. The WhatsApp will have been going, Twitter, or X as it's called these days. Sky Sports News, you've probably been checking that out, and your mates will probably drop me a wee text or something to let you know. But it's one of these things, I think we all thought it was a foregone conclusion, but you're never really sure until it's over the line. A lot of to and fro and a lot of negotiations going on in the background. But if you haven't heard the news, I'm happy. It's my honour to finally confirm to you the news we've all been waiting to hear, that Scotland will be hosting games at Euro 2028. Yes, UEFA have ratified the UK and Ireland's bid to host games of Euro 2028, to host the entire tournament. So Hampden will be hosting some of those matches in the Euros after next, just like what it did. I mean, when Italy and Turkey dropped out, it was a kind of, it was a fait accompli. It was basically in the bag, but you're never really sure. You know what I mean? You get what? No. I've got the dark blue on here. It's International Week. I don't know no Rangers stuff. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what kind of news you were hoping to hear. And by the way, if you are a mad Rangers fan and you're pure unionist and what have you, 2-country bid. That's UK and the Republic of Ireland. That's wild, isn't it? Basically 5 host nations, but it's a 2-country bid, so you should be quite happy to see our manager, Stephen Davis, our current manager, as I'm recording this video. The idea is if I come on and I say we don't have a manager, we'll appoint one, because I always get it 100% wrong. We'll be appointing one. I'll look at an idiot. I don't mind, just get us a bloody man. No, I mean, Stephen Davis, he's wearing the Northern Ireland kit, the kind of official photograph of the bid, and you get Harry Kane with the England top, who is it, Andy Robertson's a Scotland player in that photo. I don't know who the fella is for the Republic of Ireland. I can't remember who it is for Wales either. But they're, that's quite a weird situation when you think about it, isn't it? All the decades. I was reading Michael McEwen's book, Gallus. I was reading that the other week. Did a wee review. It's on the Gersnet website. All about Scotland beating England at Wembley in 1967, and it charts the history of the SFA and the FA, the English FA's kind of relationship with FIFA and then UEFA, and basically those two bodies are trying to get, Scotland hosting the first ever official international football match. England, seen as the spiritual home of the game, developing the game as we currently know it. There were always FIFA and UEFA needing to get them on board all the time, and you think the suspicion, apart from the snobbery that was in Britain about the international game, we just thought we were the best in the world up until the 1950s, basically. Apart from the kind of ultimate snobbery, there was also a suspicion that if we became part of these wider associations, these wider organisations, it would make the 4 UK teams unite and play as the United Kingdom, a la the Olympics, which was the only kind of comparator. I'm just basically, it's Michael McEwen's book, Gallus. I'm going to have a read of that to get all that information, but it's quite weird that it's still in 2023 the governing bodies are quite willing to see Scotland, England, Northern Ireland, Wales as separate footballing nations, and I'm all up for that. I'm not going to get into politics or whatever, but when it comes to the football, I'm definitely see these as separate nations. But they won't when it comes to They won't when it comes to allocating hosts. There's only 2 hosts allowed to qualify. You'll have seen all this stuff in Sky Sports News. What you want to know about is the new Rangers manager. And as I say, I'm just hoping that my way of tempting fate and making a complete fool of myself, did you see the video I put up on Saturday, by the way? Oh, anyway, my habit of making a complete fool of myself will actually make Rangers make the announcement tonight. The old white smoke will be coming out the top of the roof at Edmondson Drive, and I'm personally hoping it's going to be Philippe Clement, but it's weird. It's really weird right now. The WhatsApps have gone quiet. The texts for the mates have gone quiet. That's just because they don't want my part, or everybody's sick of hearing me. But even the women that do my perm, when I go to the hairdressers, they run out of chat about it as well. Sky Sports News, nothing, a lot of dead air. Chris Jack of the Rangers Review, you'll have seen him kind of confirming last night that Philippe Clement wasn't flying into Glasgow, and with him being my favourite for the job, or the one I would actually take if I had the choice, I'm getting quite concerned that it's not being confirmed yet. It's amazing. I think how quickly we move from we got to get rid of Michael Beale, and I'm like, no, I don't know if we should get rid of Michael Beale. We lose that game at Aberdeen. Yeah, that's it. it's done. Michael Beale has got to go, and you're thinking, I'm just relieved that we've got rid of Michael Beale. Let's just, oh no, we'll get gubbed in Cyprus. Yeah, we need to get a new manager in. When's the new manager happening? When's he arriving? 2 weeks. 2 weeks this international break. I know that. Every day earlier we can get the manager in. It gives him more time to get the team set up, to get to know the players he's got before, we restart against Hibs on the 21st of October. But I would just like to know more than anything else that it is Philippe Clement, because he's become my favourite. It was Dougie. I was talking to Dougie in the Jersnet podcast all night. He was giving us a bit of information on him. Obviously doing a bit of reading up about him myself. Just my kind of passing knowledge of his career was coming in there, and I think it was it a chap who looked a bit like Philippe Clement was on the Rangers Review a few days ago, a Belgian football expert, and he was talking about him. Then was it Ronnie Coyle? That's terrible. I should have looked that up before I come on. I'll try and. There was a Scottish Belgian football expert. I'm assuming the guy normally lives in Belgium. He was on live at Sky Sports News the other day from outside Ibrox, and he was talking about Clement and how he gets in. And at Beveren, when they were kind of, traditionally a smaller club, Beveren, he went in there and he turned them round and got them up to like 7th place, which was a kind of almost a record high for them, and they fell away again as soon as he left. And then he goes to Genk, who were needing a bit of a kick up the backside. Big club, Genk, but kind of, I find him a bit plastic. It's a thing that happens in Belgium, a lot of kind of merger type clubs. But I find him a bit plasticky or whatever. Waterschei, who Aberdeen hammered in the 1983 Cup Cup semi-final. It was certainly hammered them at Pittodrie. I remember watching that. It was one that was live in the telly, which was rare in those days. I'm getting into the Warriors stuff here, but they I think they're one of the clubs that merged into becoming Genk. I always get Genk and Ghent mixed up. I kind of think why. They both play in blue and there's one letter difference. But my knowledge of Belgian football isn't particularly extensive, but I know it's a decent league. It's a really decent level, and apparently came in and he turned Genk around, wins the league with them, and in the following 2 seasons he wins the league with Club Brugge, who are a big deal. I remember watching them losing to Liverpool in the 1978 European Cup final. In case this face and this hair, lack thereof, didn't tell you how old I was, there you go. That was the second European final I remember watching live, the 1978 European Cup final, when Kenny Dalglish, a Scotsman, scored the only goal of the game at Wembley in front of 92,000. So yeah, I want Clement, and just the fact everyone's going quiet, I'm hoping it's just that kind of, everybody behind the scenes is arranging the press conference and getting that sorted. I do worry, as you might do too. It's very reminiscent for me, just probably because the Dark Knights are coming in again, of Mr. McInnes putting the boot into us in December 2017. I'm sure he wasn't doing it out of malice. Sorry, that's maybe the wrong way to phrase it, putting the boot into us. But I remember doing my Christmas shopping. I was doing my Christmas shopping, and I was on Buchanan Street. I just got into Queen Street. I was on Buchanan Street, getting some presents for the missus and all that, and I was just walking back down towards the Underground, I think, and my phone, just checked my phone. Derek McInnes knocks us back, and it'd been this thing in the back of your mind thinking, no, he can't, he must want that job. And Aberdeen were above us at this point. You've got to remember, Aberdeen were above us in the league. They finished above us the previous season. Christ, they've been above us full stop for the past 4 seasons, because we'd been the lower leagues for a bit of a spell, you might remember. And it was an absolute kick to the lower regions. We're trying to get a manager in here from the Low Countries. It was a kick to the Beneluxes that night when I found out that Derek McInnes has knocked us back. That was a really low moment, especially as it led to Graham Murty getting the caretaker job until the end of the season. It couldn't last until the end of the season because things went right downhill. We're not in that situation again, and it looks like it's either going to be Philippe Clement or Kevin Muscat. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I just feel as if Kevin Muscat is too much of an impersonation of what Celtic have done, and that's never a good thing to try and impersonate other clubs. As I've said before in this pod or others, I think you remember when Barcelona were doing the tiki-taka thing, and you teams that didn't have Iniesta and Xavi, in their team trying to do tiki-taka throughout world football, and it wasn't working for them. They were getting hammered, but it was a possession became a bit of a cult. And I know that Ange Postecoglou did incredibly well at Celtic. I have to give him that, and he's now doing really well at Spurs. But there's even the fact that Kevin Muscat was at Rangers, that's a change, because he knows the club. he's got a kind of reputation at Rangers. He was only there for one season. It was a season in which he won the treble. He was just more than a bit part player than that. He made about 20 odd league appearances, and I don't think he appeared at all in the League Cup, was it? But he was kind of a few subs appearances in the Scottish Cup. One of the cups he won that season, he didn't appear in any of them. I looked it up a few days ago, but of course, the mind's mush these days. But the whole thing is, with Kevin Muscat, Ange Postecoglou had no connection to Celtic whatsoever before he arrived at Parkhead. Kevin Muscat's kind of been here, so straight away that's a big difference. You know, even though it doesn't really count for anything, it was 20 years ago. He was a player. So much has changed at Rangers. Never mind what's changed with Kevin Muscat, and the difference between Kevin Muscat the player and Kevin Muscat the manager is quite marked, which is quite a good thing. Dougie again was Dougie Kinnear, as you'll know, the Copeland Front loyalist who's on Gersnet. He was talking about this the other night and saying the football that he plays is beautiful. Well, because I remember him as a player, and he was an absolute bampot. I mean, he would literally put people out the game if he possibly could. Psychotic. Borderline psychotic. So, for me, he's done well in Australia and then moving on to Japan. And that's like the Ange Postecoglou route, Australian international player like Postecoglou. I don't think he's managed the Australian national team though, Muscat, which Postecoglou did, and he won the Asian Cup. Basically, you know, I was going to say the equivalent of the Euros, which is pretty stupid to start with, but it's a different continent, a bit like Israel playing in UEFA. Australia managed to move from the Oceania Conference into the Asian Conference because it was, they just felt they were too big for Oceania. But basically the equivalent of them winning the Euros. It was a massive thing for Postecoglou, and then he comes over to Celtic at a time where they're ahead of us still financially, having in terms of the infrastructure. So I don't know if Muscat, we can actually say that Postecoglou was born in Greece and then moved to Australia at an early age. Muscat was born in, is it Crawley? He's certainly born in England and then moved to Australia at an early age. But I think he's Maltese extraction. His roots are Maltese. So there's a wee difference there, between the Greeks and the Maltese. Not much, but there you go. Not much as far as I'm concerned. So I've just insulted two entire nations. I don't know. I don't fancy Muscat, but definitely a preferred option to, for example, Derek McInnes coming and putting the boot into us for the second time in a row when it comes to searching for a manager, because if likes of McInnes was to get the job, it would be every bit as much of a blow as when you knocked the job back a few years back. I think we'd actually better have gone for Stephen Robinson, who is doing the Derek McInnes thing just now, including having beaten Rangers in a League Cup semi-final when he was manager of Motherwell, just as Derek McInnes did when he was manager of Aberdeen. And until Sunday there, he had St Mirren above Rangers in the league, Stephen Robinson. But no, I think it has to be Muscat or Clement. Clement, for me, he's managed in Belgium. It's more akin to Scotland. I don't just mean because it's European. It's just a better level. I mean, Japanese football, Australian football, certainly getting better all the time. And the Japanese players at Celtic have certainly shown it's a really high standard. Japanese players all over the world, a remarkable standard. I just don't know, they're only going to be dotted, even if we started buying players from Muscat's part of the world, the leagues he has worked in, they would only be dotted through the team. He's still going to have to be able to deal with Europeans. And I think the Japanese and the Australians are two very distinct personalities. Real grifters, the Aussies. They really do. They'll get on. They'll do what's got to be done. And I feel the Japanese, obviously, we all have this stereotype of the Japanese, very kind of mannerly, very traditional culture, very disciplined and what have you. Working hard is a huge part of Japanese culture. I still feel as if the vast majority of players, and Muscat will have dealt with a lot of European players, in the A-League, and there's European players in Japan as well, but he'll deal with players from all over the world. But as a manager, I feel he comes into Scotland and everybody's a lot more volatile. It's a lot more different personalities, I think, to handle. I'm not trying to say there's no varying personalities within Japanese sides, but there's less. There's more of a kind of, I don't know, a need for a manager to prove over here that he can take care of any kind of trouble that happens in the dressing room or what. I don't think that's going to be as much of a problem in Japan or even Australia. Australia's a kind of place where everybody has a massive fight, a massive barney, so they can get on. Over here we have a massive barney and everybody goes in half with each other. So I think, I don't know if Muscat's the best fit. Clement, it's just been Belgium. And of course, he goes to Ligue 1 after winning 2 leagues with Brugge. He goes to Ligue 1 and has a season and a bit with Monaco, but he's got them up the top end of the table, like kind of fourth and then sixth, I think it was, and he gets sacked for only finishing sixth with Monaco. But he's just dealing with that kind of, I mean, there'll be African players and South American players within these teams, but I just feel that the mix is more the kind of mix he's going to get at Ibrox. You know, we've got Danilo, we've got, anyway, I'm not saying there's no mix going on in the J League or the A League, but it's more suited to European style management. I think modern European manager, what's happening in Scotland just now, and I want it to be Clermont. So I'm hoping there's going to be an announcement soon. I'm hoping it's actually getting made, as I say, while I'm making this video. And if I could just apologise to you in the meantime for the video I put out on Saturday, and any Gersnet listeners, apologies for the video I then put out on Sunday on Gersnet. It's been crazy. The stress of last week, losing the manager, and then Steve Davis comes in and you're kind of on a bit of a high because you're somebody that you trust taking the reins, a lovely figurehead, and then we get that absolute embarrassment in Cyprus. And I was on Gersnet a couple of times and really expressing how bad I was feeling it, and come the Saturday, I was, I'd cut long story short, if you didn't see the video, don't watch it, it's horrendous. I was getting a bit rock yachty, yacht rocky even, and it was the podcasting equivalent of, see, sometimes at games Rangers for they're only one goal up, and we start just kind of stroking the ball about like, we're just going to see out time here. We're going to play like we look relaxed. We're going to play like we're relaxed, but they're impersonating a team that's relaxed. They're not actually relaxed. And you're thinking, no, just keep going forward in a frantic fashion trying to score. You need work rate and energy here. I was doing the same thing. I was trying to communicate how chilled out I was suddenly feeling and how everything was going to be all right. Probably going to be all right at Paisley as well the next day. But I was just talking at this kind of rate. All about... I was just talking about my childhood and stuff like that, and it was just, I was feeling pretty mellow, but there's no reason to inflict that on you. And I think the next day, whatever happened, let's not kid ourselves. The horrors, I don't want to get into this in any way, because some twerp in a football podcast is the last person who should be talking about this kind of stuff, but the stuff that happened in the Middle East on Saturday over the weekend, you're watching the footage there and whatever, you get caught up and all that. I think the next day when there was a banner unfurled, kind of slagging James Tavernier and the whole team for being, or kind of, was it directionless? No, what was it again? Rudderless, heartless, passionless, leaderless. That's it. Not fit to wear the colours. I thought that's kind of, even for football terms, I'd had enough of fundamentalism. You know what I mean? I just had enough of taking things so bloody seriously when it was so, and I think that's the way I felt for a long time as a Rangers supporter. There's so much going on in the world that kind of angers you, and certainly if you spend a long time on social media, there'll be even more that angers you. It's an anger machine, but there's so much more important stuff to be really worrying about. I love my football club. There's no getting away from it. I love Rangers like nothing else on earth, but part of loving it is keeping it light to a certain extent, keeping it light to a certain extent. And I just felt as if that was too much, and it kind of disrespected James Tavernier. And during the game, I was getting pretty, when Tav steps up and scores a penalty to put his 1-0 up, then when he scored that one to put his 3-0 up, I was not in a nice place. My reaction wasn't very nice. It was one of those I get it ruined kind of thing, and I don't even feel like that about the Union Bears or whoever it was that put up the banner, because you guys are at the game. They've got every right to do that. I'm sitting in the house like an old part-timer, so I've got no right. Their opinion counts more than mine. But I really did. I had to slow myself down when I was doing the post-match reaction, because I did 2 or 3 of them and I was just like, that'll teach folk to be slagging James Tavernier. 107 goals for Rangers and he blah blah blah. He scored in his debut against Hibs in the Challenge Cup, and he scored the next week in the League Cup against Peterhead or something like that. He scored against Hibs in the league. I was going to go back through all the goals that he'd ever scored for Rangers basically, and there's 107 of them, so it could have been there a while, and I was rattling and rabbiting. So by the time I actually got one video, it was just me trying to cool myself down. So that was 2 videos in the space of 24 hours in which I was putting in about 1 word every 5 seconds. So anybody who got through both of them, you deserve a medal. You're an absolute legend. Thanks very much, and also apologies. So hopefully it's all about Fugazi just now. Fugazi, kind of straight edge, punk, whatever group from late 80s, early 90s. forerunners of the straight edge movement. And obviously you can see from the way I live my life, I just live with lentils and water, that I'm proper straight edge. But their famous song was Waiting Room, and I keep thinking, I'm in the waiting room, just wanting to know what the hell's going to happen with this manager, who we're going to get in. And I think uncertainty, obviously it breeds worry, it breeds a bit of fear. We just need to get this settled, we need to get this sorted. There's no point in Rangers rushing into it. They're doing a good job. The Rangers board are going through all due diligence to make their mind up, but I want to get out of that waiting room and I want to move on to the next thing, which will be, are we going to get a director of football and who's we going to sign, who are we going to let go in January? It'll be never ending, the uncertainty and the kind of clamour that's there all the time from the Rangers support. But I was a bit worried when I think when we get, the main decision is always the manager. You've got to get the manager in. I do think there's structural problems need to be sorted. Obviously, we do need to get a director of football and we need to have that kind of ongoing vision and ongoing sense of direction, really, managed from the top. But I get the manager in, and he can certainly be the start for getting us stabilised in a kind of systemic infrastructural sense. I'm a bit worried that Al Shabaab, one of these Saudi Arabian clubs, is in for Clement as well. He's been talking to them, so if he's all about the dough, if he's all about the cash, then yeah, that'll be where he goes. There's no way, I don't think we can compete with that. I've seen people talking on social media about the fact that's probably why we've offered them a 4-year contract reportedly. And I'm up for that. That's fine. People are saying that's thrown away money, that's ridiculous, but he's not going to come to us. I'm assuming we can't offer him the same kind of upfront money, the same kind of wage, if you like, bonuses included, wee tips here and there, as a club from Saudi. So we've got to give them longevity and a chance to promote it. Our best bet, if we're trying to get a manager that's just that bit more quality than you would usually expect to arrive in Scotland, is you're selling them jobs in England. They want to get into the English Premier League, and this is the best way to come and get into British culture and just learn the local accents. And it's, of course, it's no different because we're all part of the UK and Ireland's bid for Euro 2028, the successful bid. But I'm all about Rangers' successful bid for the new manager, and I hope to be on chatting to you about that soon. Thanks a lot, folks. I hope that one went a bit smoother, a bit quicker.